So welcome everyone to another show in Other Time FC. And well, it was an exciting week in football this week because the final two teams of the 32 have qualified for Doha in Qatar. So on Tuesday, Costa Rica, they qualified, they booked their spot, defeating New Zealand. And of course, Australia defeated Peru in a penalty shootout, and they are in Group D. So today we are looking at Group D, and of course the four teams are Australia, Denmark, France, and Tunisia. And we have our panel here, so welcome panel. And we have Vijay and Kishore, and today Vijay will be the moderator. He will be taking charge of Group D. So I hand over to him to conduct the show. I see Mr. Rampol just right here at the kickoff. He just came
Ah,
in.
nice.
So I see Mr. Rampol right on time. So over to you, VJ, and you'll take charge.
Okay, thank you very much, Pundit, and good to see everybody on the panel again. So so today we're gonna kick off Group D, right? France. So France, as we know, most of us on the panel, or everybody on this panel, should remember that they started this little trend of the defending champions failing to get out of their group whilst defending the title. You would recall after they won in 98. You all hearing me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, right. Okay, nice. After, because you all just went off on my screen. Right. So after they won in 98, the 2002 World Cup, there was a lot of hype and expectations on the team because they had retained the core of the 98 squad, because it was a pretty young squad. That was a team they had rebuilt after the likes of Jean-Pierre Papin and those guys had retired after a failed 94 qualifying campaign. And they were reinforced by a few additions as well. So there was a lot of expectation, and I guess you could say they fell flat on their faces. Yes, Zidane was injured going into that tournament, but the expectation was he would play the third game only if necessary, if they needed a result against Denmark. And we all know what happened. They did need a result, and they didn't get it. Zidane played, and they lost. And that started, you would recall, I think Brazil 2002 was the only team that did not fall prey to that, right? Italy 2006 didn't qualify in 2010 for the knockout phases. Spain 2010 didn't make it out of their group in 2014. And we know what happened to Germany as well. Do you guys think France is in any sort of danger of a deja vu? Anyone?
Well, I'll say that France is still in the group, probably the most experienced team. However, if you really look at it, Griezmann, Pogba, and it's only Mbappe who's probably on the rise, but Griezmann and Pogba, probably two of their core players, are probably coming to the twilight of their career, and really is who will partner with Mbappe, because Mbappe is undoubtedly a star, but again, he is now a known quantity. Teams will prepare for him,
Yes.
and who will share the burden with Mbappe? Because yes, Pogba would have a chip on his shoulder to prove after his stint at Man U, but will
Right.
he replicate his form? What club will he be at coming in November? And really, Vijay, you bring up a very good point, but it's difficult for me to see France not coming out of the group. But again, it will make interesting viewing, and there is a possibility if they get off to a bad start, it might be catastrophic for them. I think it all depends on how they start.
Oh, I agree.
What do you think,
I agree.
Kishore?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So DJ called it a trend. I would like to say it's a curse, right? It's the curse of the champion. And
Yeah.
um and and I I mean, I never really paid too much attention to the curse until the last week when my team, Germany, who's a team I always say, no matter what, we could be struggling to qualify, we could be friendly, anybody could be beating up on us. But you see, when we reach World Cup, it's a different ball game. We are different kettle of fish. And it happened to us in the last World Cup. Germany didn't qualify, didn't make it out of the group. All right. So yeah, there is something to that. No, to the point, and one the other point you all were alluding to. And Roger was mentioning the fact that with France we have Mbappe and Rog. What about Benzema? You understand?
Yes,
Benzema,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, correct.
Benzema, Benzema.
Yeah.
Here,
But
but you made some
both of them are on the same who is going to provide the service for them.
right. Yeah, but here is my now. I might take a little bit different. Re, Relating to the question, guys.
Yeah.
VJ, I believe, no disrespect to Australia, they qualified. They qualified. But I think if Peru had made it to the World Cup, I think honestly, this would have been a little bit more serious in terms of
Mhm.
France not making it out of the group. I honestly believe that. If Peru had made
Correct.
that,
I agree. 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
yeah, nothing away
Yeah.
from Australia.
I
They
think
made it and they are here. Yeah, yeah, guys, you all hear me?
So yeah, so
yeah.
well, Vijay, do you think that France would top Denmark in this group, or is it a two-horse race
No, I
between
don't.
France and Denmark?
I think Denmark would come out first in this group. Yeah, I think Denmark and France in that order would come out of this group.
Uh,
That's just my feeling.
yeah, yeah, I tend to agree with you also. Um, uh, but the game, but again, I really do worry for France. I think again
Yeah.
they are agent squad. They are agent squad.
Yeah.
Although Mbappe is young, Mbappe is young,
Yeah.
and there's something to say for agent squad and say that they have experience, right? So
Yeah.
that could work in
Yeah.
their favor. But
The
Yes.
thing is,
go ahead.
y- yeah, the thing is, Raj, I don't think age is as critical a factor with this France team. As
Yeah,
like when we say age, they're aging, but they're more experienced and they're not at the age where they a lot of players on the total decline yet, right? They still have a lot of football. They're still playing very good football. If you look at it, attacking and let's be honest, let's be fair to this France team here. France squad on paper, the only squad I think could rival France squad is Brazil squad. If we were to be totally honest in this World Cup, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
and attacking wise, I think even though we might just be saying it's two players, but even some of the other players, right, that they would have backup for, they have been doing. And I mean, Giroud is look what Giroud did at AC, and Giroud is a type of player,
yeah,
right? He is not the most flamboyant player, and a lot of people, Giroud was getting a lot of stick in the last World Cup. Why Deschamps continued with him? Why? But we all saw what the plan was. And Giroud, everybody, he understood his role in that squad and what he had to do. Right? Now, my thing is this. I still honestly believe I would go in terms of favorite Brazil, then France. Still, even though. But here what is the big thing for me with this France team? The thing for me with this France team is I do not doubt fast. They are defending champions, and the entire squad is returning with the addition of Benzema and a couple others. But I'm just saying that is, if you were to tell somebody that is tremendous. Huh? But here again, what my little issue, well, not little, you mentioned Mbappe is a star, but I think he's a little bit more than a star. He's a little bit of a diva, and and he he could he could cause some issues within that squad, and we saw it at the Euros. At the
Right.
Euros, Look at what happened at the Euros with the issue with him and Giroud. All right, and
Yeah.
look at how that infiltrated throughout the entire French squad. And I'm not saying it was the sole factor responsible for the elimination, but it probably played a role in that team not progressing any further. And we have already started to hear rumors circulating with Mbappe within that team and that squad right now. And maybe that could be a factor continuing from the Euros into the Nations League. So for me, I believe that France is their biggest enemy right now. This France and some of the players within the team. But once they could get it right, and if they could work together, I think they can go very, very far. If not, I don't think. I think we in for a similar result like the Euros.
No, Kishan, you
Right.
bring up a
Right.
very,
Yeah.
a very, very good point, because for a long
Interesting.
time,
Yeah.
I think Pogba would have been the leader in that dressing room. And Benzema coming in and Mbappe not going to Real, how the dynamics would work in there. Um, let's hope that they mature enough to, you understand, to gel as a team and don't let the egos get involved. Hopefully, for the sake of good football, you understand, on the field. Because although personally I really wouldn't want to see France go far, but I like to see good football, and I think they have a lot to offer in the World Cup if they're able to, you understand, get it right. They should play a very attractive brand of football in this World Cup, and really be there, you know, understand, challenging for the title, provided they get out the group, as we say, provided that they get out the group.
Yeah. 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 Oh yes, definitely agreed. But again, like to echo what Kishore was saying, I think Australia qualifying rather than Peru, it does make it a bit easier to predict the top two. What about so what about Tunisia? Any thoughts on Tunisia and Australia? What are their chances of creating possibly an upset, right? Because they would have to upset one of France or Denmark to have a chance. Is there a possibility of an upset?
Well, I would say that Australia, Kishore, would have a better chance of upsetting France than Denmark, because to, if they
And
park the
Tunisia.
bus, I
Right.
yeah, I think Denmark will be more prepared to play a patient game, not get frustrated. Understand? To have a more structured. But France, if things aren't going the way they wanted to go and they're not scoring, I think Australia, if they hold them at least
Right.
at parity, they probably could hold them to a draw. I can't see them beating them. Probably if they get one, probably on the counter and they hold on to that. But other than that, that's the only way I see Australia really coming out with anything in this group. I don't know if anybody thinks
Right.
differently.
I am.
I would
Listen,
think so.
we all
Yeah.
know it's foot. Yeah, it's football, but I can't. I really can't. I can't see it. I can't. I could be
Yeah,
wrong. Listen, and I have to eat my
Yeah.
words, but I really
yeah.
can't see Australia or Tunisia team. Now Australia just qualified. This probably one of the weaker Australian teams to make it.
Yeah.
Um, they, they, they use some different tactics in the penalty shootout.
Yeah, creative tactic.
Right, yeah. Tunisia is a team. Their team is under some turmoil now as well. They have an interim manager in place. Haven't really appointed um a new manager who will take them into the World Cup. Have some issues there again, but I really can't see it, BJ. I
Yeah.
can't see any of those other teams, and that's why I said the curse. I think the curse will be broken. It should be broken in
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
If it was Peru again, different story.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
because
agree.
listen, in the last World Cup, right? That France won. Griezmann said even after, I don't know if you all could remember,
I do
but
remember.
I
Yeah.
remember, and Griezmann was saying that the Peru game
Peru
was one
game
of the
was the
most difficult.
hardest.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
I might probably disagree because I believe that Argentina was the team that really gave them the run in that World Cup. If you really look at it, that really gave France a scare and
Yeah.
was really, kind of matching them in a
Mhm.
sense. And it had that was really amazing game, by the way. But yeah, I
Yeah.
can't see other than Denmark and France, I can't really see them other two teams really causing so much of
Mhm.
it could really be an upset, a huge, huge upset if it does happen, but I
Yeah.
can't see it.
Right. Now, what about this Denmark team? There's so much to be said for the Denmark team, right? I mean, just a year ago, we all know what happened, right? In the opening game of the Euros. It's just about a year now, right? It was in the middle of June. That situation, for want of a better word, with Christian Eriksen, that horrendous experience that he went through and that the team had to go through. How much did that galvanize this Danish team and make them even better than they were?
Well, I like to say that probably Denmark is the opposite of France, where France probably have a lot of individuals highly talented. We now have a Denmark team who are totally united, and in adversity, I think they found themselves, their bond probably as more than just brothers, and the whole
Mm,
country. I, I think it was really a very, very unfortunate situation, but like everything in life, there was a good outcome. I think these players gel. They learn to fight for each other. They learn to play for each other, and you can see that they really have a camaraderie that is probably second to none, and probably it will be reflected on the field. And I think that gives them a real edge in this tournament.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, Roger hit the nail on the head. He hit the nail on the head. Exactly. That is exactly my sentiment as well. It's opposite because this one team, individual and full of individual stars. When we look at the Danish team, other than Ericsson and and Kasper Schmeichel, right? We no big set of stars. What we would term in terms of football, ordinary players. But what they have, again, like I was talking about last week, they have this a different type of motivation. You see, when they put on that that jersey, that Danish jersey, and they have that on, the pride and Roger mentioned the culture within that team, right? It's totally different. Everybody there is fighting for the other person. You understand? If you get past one, somebody will, and if you get past him, you have a third one coming at you again. And they leave nothing on the field. They're going and give their all. And they're not going to be distracted too much, as we said, like, in a dressing room with a lot of stars, right? And having this distraction and all this kind. And their team in recent past, and even when you look at the years gone by, when Denmark did, and I still think at the Euros they really got a little hard done in that semi-final. I
That was
honestly
not a
believe that.
penalty. Was not a
Yes,
penalty
Yeah,
in my book.
yeah.
agreed,
I mean,
agreed.
The English supporters might disagree with me, but I think they were a little bit hard done with that in that semi-final. And this team always they play as a team, and they just sometimes get under the radar a little bit, in that nobody just take notice of them too much, as we said, but they just get the results that is needed. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's why I think they will be a kind of dark horse in this group and in this competition.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Pundit, anything to add to
Yeah.
that? What are your thoughts on this Danish
By
team?
the way, VJ, not to cut you across,
Uh-huh.
Pundit is one of the biggest Zidane supporters there is, right? He's a huge Zidane supporter. Now, me too.
Right.
I His was just out of this world. So yeah, he would have a lot to say about France as well, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, thanks very much, Kishore. I know you know me well. So actually, I supported France in '98. When they won the World Cup. Sorry, Vijay against Brazil there in the
Yes, yes, yes.
and even last World Cup when they beat Argentina.
Right.
Well, my daughter was supporting Croatia, so I decided I would just go on the opposite side and go with
Oh,
France. Well, they
yeah,
just ended up winning the World Cup. So,
yeah.
but I think really France has a great team. I mean, on paper, I can't think of a better squad. Maybe Brazil. And Roger will agree. I mean, the goalkeeper, and he just won the Serie A for AC Milan. Is a really good keeper. Keeping the captain of France on the bench. And I was
Yeah.
looking at the last match where Madrid scored the penalty, and it was a very tight match. And that keeper
Mhm.
went the right way, and it's just um a little
An
inch
inch
or so,
in.
and he would have been able to save it. So I mean, he's a really good keeper. And like any player, any part of the field, you can't think of better people you want to put in those positions. Well, Mbappe and Benzema. Pogba is a different Pogba when he plays for France. And
True.
really,
Yeah.
really, really good. And they have a set of young players to coming into the team. So I think maybe if Zidane was coaching, this could have been like a Champions League thing. So, but still, I expect with Deschamps that they will top the group. I expect them to top the group
Right.
and go far. Probably they have one of the teams could lift the trophy too. Now I don't know if the only thing could stop them is if there's a curse on the champions. But what happened in 2002 when what I didn't want them to win it because Henri had to play basketball to get them into the
Correct. Yeah.
I felt that was a little bit of football karma that they just couldn't fire. But this time I see a lot of good players. I know Denmark seems to have their number somehow, but I don't expect they will find a way to get around Denmark. Australia cannot stop France. I mean, all those things with penalties, and when a group stage match will come to penalties. And
Yeah.
of course, Tunisia, they having all kind of not only problems in the football, but the country having some economic turmoil. So I feel that will affect them as well. So although Denmark is doing well against them, I expect France to top the group and go
Okay.
along in this competition.
Right. Nice. Well, as a Brazil fan, I would say I would rather not have to come across France at any point. I would like some other team to deal with them before they have to play Brazil because they do. History shows that they usually come out on top. Whatever the era, it was in '86 they beat Brazil in '86 with Zico and all of those guys on the Brazil team. France had Platini back then. Well, we all know what happened in the '98 final. Um, and there were a couple other occasions as well where 2006 they put Brazil out, not so? I think Henri scored off a Zidane free kick at the back post. So, there's at least 3 successive occasions where they met and France came out on top in a knockout game. So, I'm not looking forward to a Brazil-France matchup. Hopefully somebody else take care of them before. Okay, so what about Denmark? How far you all think Denmark could go once they get out of this group as we would expect them to? How far? What are the chances, right? Ericsson is back in the team now, right? It's a nice seamless transition. He's fitting nicely. The team won 9 consecutive games in qualifying. It's only the last game they lost 2-0. It was to Scotland. It was a meaningless game. They were already top of the group. What do you all think are the chances of this Denmark team? Because they're playing some pretty impressive football right now and they're beating some quality sides. How far could they go?
Well, I think Denmark chances really to top the group in order not to face Brazil
Right. Yeah.
early in the tournament. I think if they face Brazil later down in the tournament, it's all
Mhm.
fair game. But facing
Yeah.
a Brazil early on in the tournament
Right.
um doesn't really augur well for Denmark. If they're able to avoid that clash, they could make a deep run. I can't see them lifting the trophy, but at
Right.
least making it to the quarters, if not the semis. But I think it all hinges on them avoiding Brazil. I don't know.
Yeah,
You sure?
you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah. It's important. It's important that they really do face Brazil too early in this tournament. That Vijay will the best we can hope for is Switzerland probably facing France, right? If that's the
Right.
case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Um,
True.
yeah. But yeah, I could see Denmark reaching to the quarters. I could see Denmark probably reaching to the quarters. As I say, they don't have to face Brazil. I could see them reaching to the quarters, and they're not going to be no walkover team. As I said, they're going to be a team who's going to fight. So I could see them actually reaching to the quarters, not really lifting the trophy, but it will be a good game. It will be a good game. It should be a good game. Well, Denmark, as I said, a fighting team, always, always. Yeah.
Well, my son now telling me that Australia stand a chance.
Oh
They stand a chance
Okay.
if they playing
Okay.
cricket.
no, that one
If
no.
it was
That
a
if it's
cricket match.
a cricket World Cup we're talking
Yeah,
about.
if it was a cricket World Cup, they say they had a chance of winning. I tell him, all right then. I don't think that will fly. Even I think they said the cricket team, I think France will still get it better than them.
No, but I think Brazil was our well-oiled machine. And Denmark doing good, but remember all this we saying here too, right? We looking right now. We would consider that, as we said before, France out of form the Nations League and what's going on with them. But you never know. You never know. As they say, when Pogba and them boys put on that France jersey too, is a different ball game. You know? Sometimes they just that they capture form immediately, right? So, but I think the issue with France has always been as well, not attacking so much, but the defense in particular. And I mean, some of the key players also a little bit. I mean, we didn't mention this. I know you asked about thing, but now that we're thinking about it, like with Kante right now, right? Kante not in the best of form.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Varane as well. Varane for Manu. I don't think is the best. Even Kipembe as well in the back there. So it we we just have to wait and see what's going on really with how they would how
Yeah.
they would show up at
Well,
this group.
I'm sure you all agree. This is like a really nice draw for both France and Denmark. I mean, and this group, although we may say that it seems very straightforward, yes, and I think if they had picked two teams to be in their group, they would have
Yeah.
taken Australia any day over Peru. Any day they
Definitely.
would
Yeah.
have taken Australia over Peru. So as we were saying, this group seems to it should take care of itself. It's just a matter of who plays first in the group, I think.
Right. Yes. Definitely. Yeah. That would have implications for um.
Going into
Sec- yeah. The knockouts.
the round of 16, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So when the seeded team in the group does not top the group, you get all sorts of exciting and interesting matchups happening in the second round. Right? That would be so the France Argentina matchup. I think that was a second round game the last time because Argentina
Yeah,
didn't
came
top their
second.
group, right? I think they came second to Croatia. Right. So
Yeah.
that's the interesting thing about that. You get some very strong powerhouses going at it face to face from as early as the second round. So it creates that little bit of excitement and nervousness in the seeded teams, not wanting to slip up in any way.
Yeah.
I
Right.
watched
Agreed. And
Brazil,
there are
Tunisia,
around
and
teams like Japan. If you think last time Japan made a deep run, it had
Yeah.
the United States making a deep run last time also in the previous
Yeah.
World Cup.
Yeah. In Brazil. Yes.
So we
Yes.
have Randy joining us. So Randy, we discussed in the group and we've said that in this group is between France and Denmark, and the only thing we're thinking is which team would top the group between France and Denmark. Any any thoughts, or do you think that they'd have any upset, or you agree with France and Denmark?
Um, yeah, France and Denmark for sure. France and Denmark is the two that will be coming out. Um, I want to give France the edge. Just the way they performed in the last Euro Cup. I think Pogba looked really good in the midfield, but after he went back to play with with United, I do find his form was the same. But then again, as the players around him and the support he has, especially with Mbappe and Benzema on the front line, um, two of them dynamic. Pogba in the midfield, I think I will want to give the edge to France to top the group. Um, Denmark, of course, has a really good team, but I think they will be coming second to France in the group.
Well, I guess we have to get Mr. Rapasan back on the program because he might go with Tunisia and Australia. I feel I think we miss Mr. Rapasan here because I think he would definitely put Australia first. I think, or he might put Benzema and Mbappe not to play in this France team or something like that.
Yeah, they might be stronger without
I'm
them.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you missed the program last week, but Mr. Rampasan said just to bring it back, Argentina would be better off without Messi starting. So again, I'm sorry to bring it up, but again, yeah.
Without him on the team at all, that's what he said. Not just not
Well,
starting, but not on the team.
I wasn't here
Yeah,
last
yeah.
week, but I looked at it and I saw him really sick. And I was to myself, are you sure they're bringing do not to talk football? What were we speaking about here, leaving Messi out of a team? Because that he never win a World Cup, but that is impossible. Who could do that? Who wouldn't take that risk of leaving out Messi? So I was a bit taken back by Mr. Dudnat's commentary on it, but
I
don't
agree
know.
with some
But
of
you
what
know,
he
it
said,
had a
but
lot.
not
It
all.
had a lot of people who agreed with him, eh? You all know that, and all of them were from Brazil.
Hey, I would be one. I would be one.
Yeah.
I agree that. I agree
No,
that.
it had
No,
a lot of people agreed with him.
not
No, but
only Brazil. Mr. Earl Newton, one of our number one
where
supporters
is Earl?
and commentators on
Where
this
is Earl
program. He's
today?
It's
a man
probably
who
people from England too. Yeah.
Earl just commented and he said he agree and he will back him. Yes, the English supporters, I have no doubt.
Yeah. I
Earl
can
is
see
very
the English
quiet today.
supporting that move.
By the way,
I can see them supporting that move.
Randy, no stick or nothing like you, right? But I mean, I know England is your team, and you were saying about all the problems, but like England had a little too much to eat when they played that last game in the They wasn't hungry.
Well,
They wasn't hungry at
I
all.
did.
They wasn't hungry
I
at all.
didn't see that game. I really didn't see that game, but Hungry
Yeah,
performed them.
yeah.
I
I,
looked
no, I
at the
can see.
starting lineup. I don't know. Huh. Well, that's just a prelude. I hope that is not a prelude to this upcoming World Cup for England and our group. Because to get 4-0, 4-0 from Hungary. Yeah, but they really wasn't hungry at all for that game, boy. And it's not like they put a B side or a C side on the field. Eh? The
No,
side that they
no,
put
no,
out
no.
was a pretty strong side because
It
them
was a
boys were
good side, yeah.
substituting into the second half, I think. And they
Yeah.
still didn't have no impact. So I'm hoping it's not a prelude. I'm hoping it's just a slip up in the warm ups and in that Nation League that they're playing in. And anything can happen on the day. Eh?
No, but
Anything
I
Randy,
can
think
happen.
some of these teams
yeah.
are lucky that they have a few extra months before the World Cup starts, right? Because the World Cup's supposed to be in full swing right now. Some of the big guns are lucky that they have those few extra months to put their house in order.
It's
And I
true.
think
I
what VJ saying is right. Them boys still need to gel. They come off a hectic league with the clubs and things, so they need to come back and gel with the national team. So yeah, those bigger sides that have the time, I agree with VJ there. They could have a more time to gel and bring the team together and play good when the time really comes.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Guys, just my Wi-Fi might give some problems for the next few minutes, just in case I get cut off. I will rejoin just in case.
No, but Randy, I don't think you should take too much into that formula. Really, I mean, a lot of people because yes, I- England would have been take the Nations League seriously, but I saw the game. It was some good goals, really bad defended, really poor defended. But they have
What
a
was the
lot of
lineup
time,
to
as they
start?
say, to get things in order.
The preliminary
And
lineup?
and I'm not the biggest English fan, but I think they have enough talent in that squad to put things right. I think they should get it right. And it could be a blessing in disguise having such a big defeat. It will put things in perspective. You know that they lose when it really didn't matter as much. That this did
True.
happen in the World
True.
Cup. It happened in the Nations League, so they can address all those defensive feelings. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think it's kind of a good thing that it happened early on. You know, because you don't want to go into a tournament or close to the tournament and this happened. So having an I kind of worried because I think the next two games in the Nations League would be Germany and Italy. Yeah? I'm not too sure. Because I think Germany would
On
be
the
a
Nations
good
League,
one.
I'm 100% either.
Yeah, because I know Germany put five past
Yeah,
Italy, so that's good news for you. Because sure, Germany seems to be, you understand, especially
Yeah,
Sane.
but we
Sane seems to
concede,
be.
but we concede two as well against Italy. Italy is scoring against
Or,
nobody. They scored two against Germany. So listen, if I might have looked good, Raj, but right now listen, that two didn't look too good. That we concede
yeah,
two goal. You know German strength. We strength have to be
yeah.
we if we had to try. Listen, anyhow we can talk about Germany a little bit more the next thing, but yeah, we
But
strength
I guess
is we had to be like the 1980s Germany team. We had to build back and hope for in this World Cup. Seriously,
I,
yeah, we had to play like Italy.
no. You can't play like Italy. Italy play at home.
I mean like the Italy team of like what we associate Italy with in World Cup football too now. Yeah, yeah,
I, I think that brand of
yeah, very
football,
defensive team.
yeah,
mm,
it probably not it. So really and truly, I think this group there there doesn't seem to be a lot of upset to look forward to. Well, I would say we look forward to upset. I shouldn't say that, but it
mm,
should be a straightforward group. And coming into it, really and truly, it's how dominant France is. Whether they come out there and they can go deep into this tournament. That is I think something that everyone would be looking at because France must be considered defending champion and everything as one of the pre-tournament favorites
yeah,
up there with
yeah,
with with
definitely.
with,
Yeah,
with, with Brazil. So
yeah,
I think
definitely.
that
I
would be the most interesting.
And I would say England too. England and France and Brazil, yeah. Forgetting Nations League is really a great goal. It's just glorified friendly games. Them now come out a really long season. And it's very important because it's time to recover for November, December. They will be more focused then. So England, France, Brazil, I think there's a top three so far in the I like to not say Messi don't play, maybe Argentina have a chance.
yeah.
They,
Well,
they will
well,
win it.
Mr. Gold,
Man say
Mr.
Messi don't
Mr.
play.
Rabasa not coaching any team.
Okay, I see
Any
BJ
say if
coming
Messi don't win, they go
back.
win it. Yo,
I think BJ connecting again. Yeah, I don't know if that somebody connecting.
Okay. Well, guys, I think we can leave Mr. Mirage to wrap up for this afternoon and preview
Yeah,
next in our next show.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, until next week. Yeah, this group is a very straightforward group, as we said. Very little. So in terms, it's basically a kind of two-horse race, I believe. So yeah, so we could probably think we want to thank all the persons for joining in, for all the comments, Earl and the others as well. Anish, I saw you commented as well. Thank you all for thing today. But remember, VJ is the moderator, Roger. So let
Right.
him
So
I see Earl said a comment there, so if you want to address it.
okay, I really can't see on mine.
Oh. Well,
I think
what
the
do you say?
timing, the timing on the
Yeah.
World Cup. I mean,
So I will.
yeah,
Yeah, I will take it first if all you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And remember, we mentioned that. We mentioned that from the early in that first time a tournament will be playing this time of the year, middle of a season. It will be played in a very unusual terrain, right? Environment, the environmental factors, all those things, and injuries can happen. And I agree. In in sport, in sport, and that's the beauty of sport, and that's why we love and we like to watch sport. And football and the Football World Cup is the pinnacle of sport, in my opinion. How an upset is what makes it worthwhile, right? Everybody qualifies, so once you qualify, you have a chance, right? Having said that, however, sometimes you need very rare occasions. It can happen, but you need to be a little bit more realistic. And but then look at the group, the particular grouping. I mean, it's very difficult to see upset occurring in that team. I mean, look at it today. England played Netherlands in a cricket match, and yeah, it's sport. Anything could happen. But what did happen? England almost scored 500 runs, right? They almost scored 500 runs. So yeah, I agree. I agree that things can, and it's the beauty of sport. But I really cannot see the man who bet in that game and get that upset with Tunisia against France or Australia. He going to make a lot of money. Who bet on that game? Because I really can't see that happening. Can't.
I feel that will be better on that game.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the only man I
yeah.
feel.
but I only talking football, but that England Netherlands, whee! I couldn't believe it either.
Yeah, well, it
98,
was like a highlights show. It was like a highlights
50
show.
overs,
I tell you,
I couldn't
hey,
believe it, boy.
Listen, I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
I was hoping they'd make the 500, it was just 2 runs again.
yeah, yeah. But it was
No, I'm
incredible.
glad they did make 500.
Serious.
I was really glad they did. I was glad they did.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
Netherlands there, but still, boy, whee! That was that
Hey,
was some battle.
Well, we had this
Dan,
question at the beginning of the show. I don't know if anyone to just give a comment on this. From Craig in London.
yeah. So we were talking about it in the fact that which is
Yeah.
a really big coincidence that these teams in the World Cup again this year, and VJ even alluded to the fact that Australia this time knocked out Peru, right? Who would have been the other team as well. Maybe you would probably just say, it's different. When you look at the other teams, like even the Australia team, it's a different team compared to the last World Cup. So maybe you might know the opponent a little bit, and maybe the game plan, depending on if the coach probably remain the same as well for a couple of those teams there. But other than that, I think, listen, they qualify, new tournament, no edge. I really don't give anybody the edge because of that fact. I think it's just a coincidence, and it's a really big coincidence, right? And these days with the world of football mixing up the ball when they're doing draws and all kind of things, this be happening like with Champions League and thing, right? I just think it is a big coincidence. This is a big coincidence. That's all. But it's not really gonna give any edge or take away anything from anybody. I believe.
Okay, I think VJ back with us, so we can. I'm not sure if his internet working okay. You're looking a little frozen.
I think he frozen, but
Yeah. All right, Randy, you want to say anything on that question?
Well, I hear Baj was talking just now, but wasn't I? Can I get on internet problems here too? I don't really seen the comment
Okay.
that
Oh, I'll read it
Yeah,
for you.
same here.
Well, this is from, I'll read it for Roger and BJ and you. So this is from Craig in London, England. So I guess he's supporting England, but he said Australia, Denmark, and France were all in the same group in the last World Cup. In fact, BJ told us, well, Peru, if Peru had beaten Australia, it would have been the same group as the last World Cup. So what a coincidence. But since they played each other in the last World Cup, he was wondering, do you think this will play a factor in how they play this time because they basically, for the last World Cup, there was the same group.
Um,
oh,
I don't think so, because it's a different tournament, and I think tournament play, although they are the same countries, familiar with their style or the players there, I still believe that it's a great coincidence. I mean, it is something probably remarkable. I mean, some people may say suspicious that the same team going and in the same group. I mean, yes, but coincidences are allowed. But maybe I don't see the teams having an advantage having been in the same group. Yes, the only thing is that they may the the smaller teams may not have the fear factor. Or
Mhm.
we haven't faced the team before. That's the only thing I can see. But I really don't see it having any tangible effect on the playing field.
well, yeah, I don't think mentally because they're in the same group that will affect the players. I mean, I looked at the Australia and the Peru game, and Australia coming with new players, new strategies. Um, so I don't think mentally they're going to do that. I think on the day football is a playing the 11 on the field, and whichever 11 the teams put out, every team going to try their best to win. Because as you know, teams like Australia in this group, if you face France and you come off with a nil-nil, that is a win. So the
Agree.
strategies that they employ, that the coaches will employ against the bigger teams, as we're saying, will make a factor. Australia could easily park a bus on France and don't let them get in and play a very, what we might consider boring football. But if you come out nil-nil in a group with France on a day, that's an excellent result. So mentally, I don't think so. I think they will play each other on the day itself. The teams will come out, the 11 will start, and the strategies that will win will be the coaching strategies that they will employ. Of course, France and Australia might have a bit more skillful players on their teams, but football on a day could go any direction. So mentally, I don't think so.
Vijay, hear us now?
Hello? Yeah, I hearing. Yeah, hearing now.
You
Yeah.
go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think these guys are professionals. They are accustomed, with their club football playing at the highest level. And each time you go out on the field, you are going out to play against that team that is in front of you, right? So whether 4 years ago it happened to be the same France, the same Denmark that Australia is playing, I don't think the players don't really focus on that. You will have your game plan. So France will have a certain style of play. They will have certain tactics that they will employ against Denmark. And then when they have to play Australia, when they have to play Tunisia, they will adjust to suit, right? But these guys, they are accustomed to that, in club football, playing for their country in these different tournaments as well. And they, in a tournament like this, you just take it one game at a time. You focus on what your role is on the day, and you play as a team and you go out to win your game or draw your game, as the case may be, depending on who you are and who you are playing. So I don't think, the fact that three of these teams actually were in the same group 4 years ago, I don't think it would matter too much to any of them.
Oh, one thing, Vijay, I was thinking, now the players, it might not affect so much, but the coaching staff, now remember, they just prepare, so they prepared for those teams 4 years ago. So they will have
Right.
they
Yeah.
might be better prepared. Not only Denmark and France, but also Australia, or not Australia, but Tunisia, at least will have some homework done on these teams. Now,
Right. Yeah.
well, I don't know how it will impact on the coaching staff, which could be important too, because the players just kind of following. But what I'm thinking about too, if I really want to stop Mbappe, I'll just look at the Real Madrid matches and get a fella to push him away when he tried to
Mm-hmm.
run with the ball. Like Argentina made that mistake in the last World Cup. Forget football, forget
Right.
the ball. Let's just tackle Mbappe and stop him and take a yellow card.
Right.
Then okay for Real Madrid. Anyhow, so.
You take one for the team, yeah. No, but again, like Mbappe was an unknown quantity 4 years ago. Teams didn't know him. They didn't know how to defend against him, and they were very surprised by how quick he was and how mature he was for his age. And he's now 4 years better and more experienced, right? He also, besides having a World Cup under his belt, he has the disappointment of a failed campaign. I mean, if failed in inverted commas, right? At the Euros last year, the disappointment of being the player who missed the decisive spot kick in the shootout. I think these things will actually hold him in much better stead than 4 years ago. Playing against teams like Tunisia actually, is a little bit more difficult because those players you don't really know. They're not as high profile as the Danish or French players. You have less of them playing in the top leagues. So that might be a slight advantage if you want to look at it that way of, being a team like Australia or Tunisia where you have a fair amount of players who are relatively unknown to the French and Danish coaches. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Vijay, we will leave you to wrap up and to hand over this group. You
Right.
understand? To wrap up this group,
Yeah.
and we'll hand it over to Mr. Maraj.
Right. Okay, so so that basically for the last almost an hour now, we've been discussing Group D. I think we all agree that the top two to advance from this group would be France and Denmark. Some of us think Denmark will be coming first, springing that surprise on. I don't know if how much of a surprise it is because based on the football that they're playing right now, Denmark could beat anybody, I think. Right. So Denmark and France. Some of us say France and Denmark, but I think we all agree that the top two coming out of this group would be the two teams that came out of the UEFA qualifying. Anybody want to make any closing remarks?
No, I think you hit it on the head there. I think it really boils down to which team will place first and which team will place second in this group.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I'm kind of agree. And I agree. It's like as a foregone conclusion, we're looking at Denmark and France, just who comes to the top. And well, yeah, sometimes strategy. You don't want to top your group, you want to come second, depending on
Correct
who.
is right. Yeah.
How
Depending on how the other
play
group
forward.
going.
Yeah, so sometimes a man show a game just to realize that second is a better spot to be than first. So we see who on
Very
Agreed.
top,
true.
but we're looking at Denmark and France to come out. Right, so
Yeah.
I mean, if I see an upset in this group, it's not really affecting me too much. If France leave the tournament, England have a better chance. So if an upset occurs, what can you do? Yeah.
Right. Pundit?
Yeah.
Yes, well, I think it was a really good analysis of everything. I mean, it looks straightforward. I mean, France and Denmark. And really, as early seniors, Mbappe, he could show that this is his time now, and really put stamp his authority on the game because Messi and Ronaldo will be there. This is their last World Cup, and if he could take France all the way, I mean, we wouldn't have any doubt as to the caliber of player that he is, or that he could prove himself to be in this World Cup. So great show, and well done there, BJ.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, well done, BJ.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great as usual to be a part of this panel. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one.
Right, so the next show will be Germany. We wanted to remember we closing off in June. So next week we will have the
Right.
Germany and we close off and then we'll
Right.
break off for the holidays and come back in September. And of course, Mr. Bajnat is the German, so he will be in
Right.
Washington in that.
Yeah.
And also thanks to all the viewers who are still with us till the end, 55 minutes going on 56, and they are here till the end. So thanks to the panel, Randy and Roger and Vijay, and of course Bajnat who was here, and all of you who are still viewing. And we look forward to seeing you in the next show where we'll look at Group E with Germany, of course, should be the favorites here. So all the best until next time.
Okay, take care, guys. It was a
Take care,
pleasure.
guys.
Yeah.
Next week,
Yeah, take
as
care, everyone.
always. Bye bye.